Hello there. Just waiting until we are live on Facebook and Instagram. Perfect. Welcome. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if only to yourself. What is your marketing plan for the month? Not your goals, not what you hope will happen, not the vague idea that you have about what you should be doing, your actual plan written down with specific actions attached to specific days. If you do not have one as an actor, you are in the majority, because almost no actor that I've ever worked with had a monthly marketing plan before they started working with me. They had intentions, they had to-do lists, they had a general sense that they should be doing more or of what they wanted, what their goals were. But a plan, something that they could look at on a random Tuesday morning and know exactly what they're supposed to be doing today for their career, almost never. And this is one of the biggest reasons actors feel stuck. Not because they're lazy, not because they're busy without a plan, not because they don't know what to do, but because they sit down and work on their careers and they default to whatever feels most urgent or whatever feels most comfortable. So they update their website, they schedule a headshot session, they retouch their headshots, they scroll Actors Access for an hour, they scroll backstage for an hour. And at the end of the day, they feel like they worked, but nothing actually moved. Clip that. So today, I'm going to give you the entire framework that I teach inside my community, The Table, for building a monthly marketing plan that actually gets results. This is the system. This is the real one. And by the end of this conversation, you will have everything you need to build your first one this week. Let's get into it. This is episode 16 of Powerhouse Conversations, the monthly marketing plan, what actors should actually be doing every month that almost nobody ever does. So before I walk you through the plan itself, I need to teach you a distinction that changes everything about how you spend your time. I call it paper pushing versus power moves. Paper pushing is all of the administrative maintenance, behind the scenes work that's completely necessary, but does not by itself produce results. One of my former coaches used to call it administrivia. So it's like the updating your website, it's the retouching your headshots, it's the editing your reel, reorganizing your resume, producing self-tapes alone in your apartment to practice, scrolling through casting breakdowns. All of that needs to happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but none of it on its own moves your career forward, because none of it involves another human being. A power move is different. A power move is a results-producing activity. It involves another person. Someone's on the other end of it. You're reaching out. You're sharing your work. You're building a relationship. You're asking for something. You're showing up in a room where someone who can impact your career is going to see you. Clip that. So here's the test. If you can do it alone at home at midnight with nobody else involved, it's probably paper pushing. If it requires you to interact with another human being who is in a position to impact your career in some way, it's a power move. So updating your website is paper pushing, but sending that website link to someone like a casting director or someone with a personal note, that's a power move. Practicing your self-tape skills, paper pushing, but sharing a self-tape in a virtual workshop where a casting director is giving feedback, that's a power move. Reaching out to agents with a specific ask is a power move. Researching which agents to email, that's the paper pushing part. So both categories matter. You can't do power moves if the paper pushing hasn't happened at all, because there is some research involved, there is some preparation involved. You know, your website has to be good before you feel comfortable sharing it. Your headshots have to be taken and updated before you can use them. But the paper pushing is preparation. The power move is the marketing. And most actors will spend 90% or more of their time on preparation and 10% or less on the thing that actually creates the results. Your monthly marketing plan is designed to flip that ratio, or at least get it a lot closer to where it feels balanced. So as I walk you through this framework, I want you to be asking yourself one question about every action item. Is this paper pushing or is this a power move? And if your plan is full of paper pushing and very light on power moves, something needs to shift. All right, so the first step in building your monthly marketing plan is going back to your goals. Because the whole point of the plan is to move you towards something specific, something that you actually want. Without that, you're just making a to-do list. Who cares? So I always recommend focusing on no more than 3 goals at a time. Now, this is hard for me too. We are creative people. We have a million ideas and interests, but focus is really the name of the game here. And overwhelm almost always comes from trying to pursue too many things at once. And for those of you who are like me, where you have an acting career and you have a business, or maybe you have an acting career and you are a parent, or you have an acting career and you have another big responsibility that you're taking care of, we need to really be careful about how we're prioritizing so that we are not becoming overwhelmed and then doing nothing. So write down the 3 goals that you're actively working toward right now. Not like your lifetime goals, but the 3 things that are alive for you in this season, the things that you want to accomplish in the next 6 months or so, right? Maybe it's signing with new representation. Maybe it's building relationships with a casting director who casts a specific kind of show or even a specific show. Maybe it's creating a short film. Maybe it's getting your self-tape game to a level where you feel confident and consistent, right? Whatever they are, get them on paper. Once you have your 3 goals, the next question is, who are the people who you are going to collaborate with to bring those goals to fruition? Because remember, marketing involves another entity, someone on the receiving end of it. If no one's receiving what you're doing, that's not marketing. That's just organizing stuff. So for each goal, I want you to brainstorm the people on the other end. If your goal is representation, who are the specific agents and managers on your target list? If your goal is building casting relationships, which casting directors are casting the shows that you want to be on? Who are the artistic directors that you want to network with, right? Who are the producers that you want to narrate for, or the publishers rather? If your goal is creating a project, who are the collaborators, the filmmakers, the writers, the directors, the producers that you want to work with? So your goals tell you what to do. Your people list tells you who to do it with. And the plan that we're about to build connects those 2 things with specific actions. Okay. Hello. I'm just going to pause here to check and see if there are any questions yet. Great. Looks like we're good. If you have questions as I am sharing this, please pop them in the comments. Okay. So your monthly marketing plan breaks down into 3 categories of action. Things you do daily, things you do weekly, and things you do like once a month-ish, right? Within each category, you're going to have a mix of paper pushing and power moves, but the goal is to make sure that you have power moves at every level. So let's start with daily. These are things that take, 15 minutes, 45 minutes total. They're small, they're consistent, they compound over time. So here are some examples of daily power moves. Engaging with one person on your target list on social media, right? I'm not talking like mass anything. Genuine, specific engagement with one person whose work you're following. That takes 5 minutes. Another example, making one phone call. This is the one that most of us avoid because it is scary. We get an answer. It's one of the most effective things you can do because it's so immediate, it's so personal, it's so bold. Calling a production company, calling an agent's office, calling a theater. These take less than 5 minutes and they produce results that emails often don't. Another example would be doing one personal reach out from your rolling reach out list. We talked about this in the last episode. 5 people a week means roughly 1 a day, right? A text, an email, a voice note, something brief, something personal, something really genuine. Sending a piece of mail. I sent out New Year's postcards this year. I have had more auditions from people that I sent those cards to than I did the year before, right? People think that mail is dead, but that means not a lot of people are doing it, right? So just think about what those daily moves are for you. And here's examples of daily power pushing or power pushing, paper pushing that's necessary but needs to be contained, time boxed, right? Scrolling through and submitting yourself, updating your files, administrative stuff, right? Spend no more than 45 minutes a day on this, because if you don't cap it, it will expand to fill all the time that you have and you'll never get to the power moves. That's the trap. This stuff is comfortable. It's stuff that you can do on your own and you can feel really productive. You don't have to take the scary step of reaching out to another person. So make sure that that's not all you're doing. Clip that. Now, weekly actions. Weekly actions are things you do once a week-ish. They might be a little bigger than the daily stuff. Examples: scheduling your social media posts for the week. You can use a scheduling platform and batch this so you're not posting in real time every day. You can get it done in one sitting, free up your daily time for power moves, right? Another thing, maybe updating your rep on what happened this week. If, a super brief check-in email that shares what you've been doing for your career, who you met at a networking event, who you met at a workshop, shows them you're an active partner in your career and helps them continue to act on the relationships that you're building. Creating and sharing one piece of content is another example, right? Maybe it's a short form, kind of like Instagram Reel, TikTok thing. If you're a comedian, that you put it out, you're demonstrating your creative energy, you're sharing it with an audience. Creating it alone is paper pushing. How many things do you have in your drafts folder that you haven't shared, right? Sharing it is the power move. Another example, doing one piece of strategic outreach. Maybe it's a letter of acknowledgement to someone who you don't know yet. They're like a third circle person for you. But you really admire their work. And so you send something specific to them. Maybe it's a meeting request, something that takes a little bit more thought and intention than your daily reach outs. And then there are the once a month actions. These are the bigger moves that you schedule on your calendar and you make sure those get done. Examples: publishing a newsletter to your email list, attending an industry event or a virtual workshop, a casting director workshop, a networking event, a panel, something that puts you in a room with people who can impact your career. Once per month, scheduled in advance, you make it a point to show up. Doing a materials check, right? Once a month, you're looking at your casting profiles with fresh eyes. You're making sure that your resume is current. You're making sure that nothing needs to be updated based on what happened this month, right? And also reviewing your monthly marketing plan, creating and reviewing your monthly marketing plan, right? And then at the end of the month, taking 30 minutes to look at what you actually did versus what you planned, what worked, what didn't, what are you going to adjust for next month? So this turns this into a practice instead of a one-time exercise. Clip that. So I know that was a lot, and I want to be really clear about something. You do not need to do every single thing I just listed. What you need is a plan that's specific to your goals with a mix of daily, weekly, monthly actions, where the majority of those actions are power moves and not paper pushing. Okay, the plan I just walked you through is kind of a template. It's an example. And you need to customize it based on where you are and what your goals are and how much time you realistically have to dedicate to your career every week. The point is not to do everything. The point is to know exactly what you're doing and why. Okay. So I want to set an expectation here that I think is really important. If you build this plan and you execute it for 1 month, you're going to feel so much more organized, so much more intentional, and that is great. But 1 month is usually not enough to see real external results. Now, I say this having just led a challenge for 21 days where the actors in that challenge did 1, 3, or 5 reach outs every day. And let me tell you, 3 weeks was enough for them to see results. It was amazing. So if you're doing that kind of focused thing, but honestly, your monthly marketing plan is not going to be that intense usually, right? So you might not immediately see that the number of auditions that you're receiving is higher. You might not immediately see that you've booked your dream role, right? So the commitment that I ask of the actors that I work with is 90 days. 3 consecutive months of executing your plan, reviewing it, adjusting it, staying consistent, because the magic of this plan is not any single action, it's the consistency. One reach out may not change your career, but 5 reach outs a week for 12 weeks, that starts to create a pattern. It really does. So the actors who get the most out of this are not the ones who create the most impressive plan. They're the ones who show up and execute a decent plan consistently for long enough that the compounding effect starts to kick in. Right? And don't miss that review step. At the end of every month, you review. You look at what you did, you look at what you didn't do, you look at what produced a response and what didn't, and you adjust for the next month so that plan stays alive and changes based on what you're learning and who you're connecting with and where you're getting traction and you're getting new ideas and all that stuff. So it just becomes a really magical process. Okay. So this becomes a system that you actually work with versus something that you write down once and then you forget about and never do anything with it. That's definitely not what we want. All right. I have a question from Baby Tooks. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Do you think creating a more personable relationship, setting up Zoom or in-person meetings with your agency helps with submissions? That's a great question. And yes, I do. Actually, I do. I think that I was actually just at a Q&A with a commercial casting director last week. And she was saying that it's a shame that so many of us as actors have never met our agents in person, because there is a kind of, in this post-pandemic world, so many of us had our initial meetings on Zoom or whatever, and then they've never met us. They've never felt our energy in the room, because there's something that's so magical about having an exchange in person where they can really get a sense of who you are and what you bring to the table, such that their submissions become better because they know you better, right? And so I love this. I'm actually about to go have a meeting tomorrow, maybe lunch, with someone who I'm considering signing on with as a manager. And I think that we've already had an in-person meeting, and I just really feel like those touch points are really important. So yes, I do think that, hi, Ellie. I do think that creating a personable relationship with them is important. And at the very least, Zoom meetings and preferably in person, because then they have a better sense of who you are and what to submit you for, right? It's kind of hard to go off of a headshot alone and even a reel alone. It's possible, but right, we want optimal. And that's what I think is optimal. So I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you have any follow-ups on that. All right, so everything that I just taught you, you can start doing on your own. Like this week, I gave you the framework. I gave you the categories. I gave you examples of each. So you have enough to build your first plan. But here's what I know from experience. Building the plan alone is one thing. Sticking to it for 90 days is another. And knowing whether your plan is actually strategic, whether the power moves you chose are the right ones for your specific goals and for your specific career, that's where most of us get stuck. So inside the table, we build monthly marketing plans together. You're not guessing about whether you're doing the right things. You have coaching from me. You have accountability from the community. We have co-working sessions. You have a community of actors who are executing their own plans alongside you. So we have that opportunity to review together every month. And every quarter, we come together for planning sessions where we look at a bigger picture view of your career and we can adjust. So that compounding effect that I talked about happens faster, obviously, when you're not doing it alone. So if today gave you the framework and you want the structure to actually execute it, that's what the table is for. And if your number one goal right now is finding aligned representation, then Agent Alchemy is my 44-day system that builds the marketing plan specifically around the rep search. It's 44 business days. It's a focused version of everything that we talked about today, aimed at that one specific goal of signing with an aligned agent and aligned manager. And both are going to be linked in the YouTube description of this conversation. Okay. So I'm going to check again and see if there are any questions or follow-up questions. Okay. Yeah. Baby Tick says that makes sense. Awesome. Yes. Yay. Ellie, I love you too. All right. So if you're watching the replay of this, let me know if you have any questions. I always check. And I've loved this because this, honestly, I'm going to tell you, if you really do this, if this week you build your first monthly marketing plan, if you write down your 3 goals for each one, you identify who the people are on the other end, then you map out those daily, weekly, monthly actions, making sure that the majority of them are power moves and not paper pushing. Put it somewhere that you'll see it every day, and then commit to executing it for 90 days, not perfectly, doesn't have to be perfect, consistently. I am telling you, you will see a shift. Because the actors who build great careers, long careers, sustainable careers, profitable careers, are not the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who work the most strategically. And strategy means having a plan, executing it, reviewing it, and adjusting. That's it. That's the whole game. Most actors will never build this plan. Most actors will keep sitting down to work on their career with no structure, no clarity about what they're actually supposed to be doing today. And you now know something that they don't. So use it. Clip that.